am seeing a shift in the generation of parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I am, I'm a Gen X. Yeah. And so that's again, that beauty of motherhood, of parenthood is really growing that strength, that confidence, our own deep, steady.
Hello, everyone. You're listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby, a podcast dedicated to exploring the personal and emotional journeys of parenting. I'm your host. My name is Medea. Today I have Julietta, parent coach and founder of Sproutable, mother of three. Julietta, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, we're going to start with something called the Fast Five, where I ask five questions back to back and you answer with the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. First question. Biggest pregnancy craving?
Lemons.
Lemons. I've
Mhm.
never heard that.
Yes. And
Something about the citrus?
I don't know what it was, but I would like if I would go to a sandwich shop. I think it was, like, I'm trying to remember, there was a certain sandwich shop that had sliced lemons for some reason at the condiment section. You could get ketchup and they had lemons, and I would literally take a whole handful of lemons and put them in my water and eat them by themselves. It must have been, or the vitamin C. I don't know.
Something. That's crazy. That's a good one.
Yes. And
Which is
actually my daughter who was the one that I had the craving with, when she was a baby, she would eat lemons also.
that's
Yes.
interesting.
Like as a toddler, she would get little lemon slices and she would just chew away at them, even the rind and everything. People would stare at her in a restaurant. It was the weirdest thing.
So maybe she was craving it through you.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
That's so funny. Which is worse? You run out of diapers or you run out of wipes?
Ooh, I gotta say wipes.
Wipes. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I've gotten both answers.
Yes. I feel like they are just so universal, and being stuck with anything that you have to wash that has that amount of ickiness on it versus being able to, kind of make do with some makeshift diapers and just kind of hold, at least just for holding, like until you can get to the store to get more, is what I would say. Wipes have just been so universal, even past potty training for me, that I would definitely always need
Yeah,
wipes.
wipes help with everything, no matter what age, what the issue is. They're
Yes.
there.
My kids are old and we still have them in the car, in a, bag packed for heading for a concert or going to the park. We always have baby wipes with us.
Mm-hmm. One word to describe labor and one word to describe parenthood.
Ooh, let's see. Labor. I mean, you asked for the first word that came to my head, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
be honest.
Okay.
The word that popped to my head was torture. I mean,
Wow. Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, but I think if I were to, that was the first word to pop into my head. But I would say, really when I think about labor, and I've been through it twice. I'm sorry, not twice, three times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was long. It was just so much longer than I could have ever predicted or imagined. So I will edit my answer and say long. If I were to say one word to describe parenthood, I would say magical.
Oh, that's cute.
Hmm. Yeah.
I like that. Favorite baby product you can't live without.
Okay. Now, let me just again preface this by saying that my first two babies were extremely colicky. And like it was rough. It's real extreme colic. My third was not. So I got to really experience the full range of what typical baby experience was. But the thing that saved me through those first two babies was the not just the swaddle. I won't say the swaddle, but definitely like the baby carrier swaddle, of course, to like carry them,
Mm.
because that is the only way that they would not go in a car seat or a stroller or anything like that. But a huge exercise ball. So sitting and bouncing on the exercise ball while they were swaddled just saved my body so that I wasn't having to stand and walk and rock. I mean, I would do that too, but just having that big exercise ball It was a total game changer. I just loved having it with both of my babies and just to help rock them, soothe them, have such deep bouncing. That was yeah, it was a game changer for us.
Wow, yeah, because it's naturally rocking them, and you
Mhm.
don't have to do too much work with it.
Exactly. Yep. hmm Yeah, and it
Mm.
just gave that depth, like that deep
Yeah.
to go deeper. I mean, I also stood and was doing the squats and the plies and walking the neighborhoods and all those things. But in that middle of the night when you're just needing, that extra accessory, I would say that was, and of course, it was super helpful for me through pregnancy and just as exercise afterwards. It served a lot of purposes for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. Most unexpected joy of motherhood.
I mean, I think there's so many, obviously. I described it as magical. I think the joy of seeing what, how different and unique their personalities are, like really watching and experiencing and witnessing these beautiful humans emerge and grow and thrive and, um, how they see the world and what they think of and how they learn and things they say and their personalities and their depth of just coolness. Like it's just amazing. It's just like so cool to be a part of that, to really have that front seat, that front row.
It's like you get to experience the world again through their eyes.
Yes. And there's a part of, I mean, I guess this comes with the other, aspect of that, and it's certainly within the work that I do as a parent coach, which is that they show me the parts of myself that get to continue to evolve and grow. And so it is through them that I get to become a better human, and really find the places of skills and qualities and aspects of my life. Like they inspire me to want to be my best self also.
Oh, yeah, you're teaching them, but they're teaching you.
Yeah, exactly. All the things we're learning and growing right beside each other.
That's beautiful. What, so now on to the questions.
Okay.
What inspired you to become a parent coach?
Well, I was a school psychologist and a school counselor for over 15 years in Seattle public schools. I really came into positive discipline as a framework right out of the gate, right out of grad school. And it gave me the languaging to be able to support the teachers and the parents that I worked with, through my students. And so after working for so many years in the schools directly with students and seeing how much it was the grown-ups that were not necessarily struggling, but really craving advice and direction and research backed solutions and more direct um, tools and strategies. And I would be doing this as part of my practice, as part of being a school psychologist and part of being a counselor. But what I found was when I started teaching workshops and classes, that there was a lot of questions afterwards, of course, that parents would have to integrate the material to really adapt it to their personal situation. And then similarly with teachers, when I would do trauma trainings or positive discipline trainings or um, other types of professional development with them, talking to them about, children with anxiety and strategies around that. A lot of the teachers would say, I have, certain parents that I've of my students that could really use extra support. And there was a gap, I think, that was at least with the population that I was serving, where it's not therapy, which absolutely was just as valid. There were tons of, not tons, but there's lots of parenting books. Certainly, when social media and the internet continued to thrive and grow and become more and more accessible, the information was really available, but nobody could translate it for them and make it
Hmm.
just about their family. So when I created Sproutable, it really grew from that need where I knew parents needed to see it in action, see these strategies, see these tools in action. Created an online course for parents with toddlers, with preschoolers, a course for nannies. And then, of course, with that, along with my workshops, my classes, I grew my coaching practice so that I could support those parents one on one. And that's exactly what parents said. They were just had such relief in having me be their translator. They're like, I read the book, but I can't, like, how do I use it in this situation? Or, I took the class. Can you help me adapt to this particular principle or strategy or tool directly to my family? So we would talk about, for example, when they would have a toddler and then bring a new baby into the family and how to help their family help prepare the toddler who is about to have the new sibling. Or for parents that were just expecting, I had a lot of parents take my class and be excited about the positive discipline framework, but then really wanted to help me personalize their parenting plan. We talk about having a birth plan. We have a plan for who's going to come and help support us postpartum. Maybe we have a doula to help support us as well, but really also having that coach to help create a parenting plan so that you're ready from day one.
Yeah, because a book is more generalized, but having a coach, it's one-on-one, more direct, more personalized. So it's
Yeah,
very, very beneficial.
exactly.
What is the biggest issue you see with parents in this generation?
I am, first of all, I just want to say that I'm so impressed. I've been doing this for over 20 years now, and I'm seeing a shift in the generation of parents, right?
Hmm.
Where I am, I'm a Gen X. Then we have the millennials coming in. And what I'm seeing is really thoughtful parents, really thoughtful new parents who have way more access to information through social media. And there is a desire to parent differently from how they were parented.
Hmm.
Not everything, they're not ready to throw out all the bathwater. Um, but they are wanting to be really intentional. And so they're getting ahead of the curve more than parents of the past. I was just telling my husband this that I teach a class on Wednesday nights, and I'm like, what I love about this new generation of parents is they're a little more chill. Like some of the parents that I would have in my early days, they would come in really like angry and like so upset by the behavior, by the tantrums, and just like I've got to control them. And I feel like parents now, like this new generation of parents, they're just more chill, they're thoughtful, and they really want to have the information that is research based and like what is their due. So they're recognizing that there's a lot of information out there in social media. They're recognizing they want to do some things a little bit differently from the way that they were parented. They want to be more intentional, and they're ready to roll up their sleeves.
Hmm. Yeah, because every generation, I feel like the parents get a little bit more intentional. I guess that's the word. Yeah, just a little bit better with kids because they see how what their parents did. They see what they did right, what they did wrong. So yeah, this generation is,
Yeah,
yeah, very good parents.
they're intentional, and I think also they're recognizing that we actually do need support with it, that it is not just
Hmm.
an intuitive thing, that it is not just an easy thing, right? Parenthood is actually really complicated. They're recognizing that these are human relationships. They're recognizing that the behavior in their baby and their toddler it's telling them something. They're just not quite sure like what. Like that's where I think I'm coming in a lot is helping them to break those cycles and really break through to understanding what might be going on and really coming at it from a brain-based perspective versus just some of the old school like timeout or rewards or just more controlling or even just more passive, more permissive, praise based. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to admit that you need help, which a lot of generations before would not admit that, and that's where the problem starts.
Yes. And I think there has been, it's so funny because we'll go, we've come a long way in terms of it being normalized to have a therapist, being
Hmm.
normalized to have a personal trainer. be
Mm-hmm.
normalized to have a nanny or even have, someone to help you with moving. Remember before we would just call our friends and be like, "We'll get pizza," Now it's like, guess
Yeah.
what? Actually, you can hire a mover, or
Mm-hmm.
having like help with certain things. Like we're much more, and I think again, the internet and social media is with that too, where it's normalized this desire for more whole health and more just wanting to be more balanced also.
Mm-hmm.
And yet in this parenting world, when we're talking about our children, it can feel so vulnerable. It feels really vulnerable for people to either admit or just talk about there being challenges at all. And I think that is still stuck into, our own inner child tape, our own voice, what we internalized as children from our parents as well, or things that you keep, family business in the family kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've found over 20 years is when I get a group together, I have this beautiful membership group, for example, that we we are together year round. We meet twice a month on Zoom, and they're from all over the country, people even all over the world. And when you get a group of parents together, it is like the challenges are all the same. And literally every parent says, I don't feel alone. I didn't realize how normal this was. Everyone has these same challenges. And so, and yet, like you say, it can be hard to admit that we might need some help. But when you actually come together, you realize, I mean, literally all over the world, the challenges are the same. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What are the biggest challenges that you see?
Think the biggest ones, I mean, just last night, my sweet little group, I had parents with new babies and toddlers, and it was the big meltdowns, the tantrums, the power struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And then within that first year I work with a sweet little group of moms with postpartum babies. They're 6 weeks to 8 months old. And for them, it's the sleep, different sleep regressions, different
Mm-hmm.
sleep patterns, different feeding cycles. And especially their own, some of the challenges just as a parent, being able to find your own rhythm, find your own balance, find your own confidence, your trust with that. So that's a lot of what I work with parents on too, is really trusting your own intuition, having your own framework of connection and firmness at the same time, having that backed by research and neuroscience and what is truly best for child development, what is best for brain development, what is best for social emotional development. So last night, for example, I had this dad tell me their 2 year old grabbed these special flowers that they had drying, and when the parent said, "Let go of the flowers," the 2 year old, of course, looks at them and just squeezes them and mashes them more and runs away.
Oh
Um,
no.
so those kinds of power struggles are not wanting to, you try to get them dressed and they don't want to get dressed, or trying to change their diaper. They don't want to get their diaper changed. So a lot of this will, right? This strong will or power struggle, or just this communication gap between the baby's cries and not quite understanding what they want, or trying to soothe them and not quite being able to soothe. And so trying to really grow towards, I mean, I think with all of this, a lot of what I do is help parents with co-regulation. So, at the root of that is really a lot of challenges with regulation, understandably, because their brains are just starting to develop, right? That is something that doesn't come, fully, completely baked in and online until those mid 20s. And so it is at the root of a lot of the challenges is just the constant dysregulation. And, for any little baby and toddler, and even for us as grown-ups, of course, our brains are taking in so much information, sensory information, both internally, externally, all the pieces, right? And so our brain is gathering all of those bits of information, the rapid bites, and making decisions about whether I'm safe or I'm not safe. And so whether I go into protection mode or whether I'm in connection mode, and then our behavior reflects that. So
Yeah, it's still hard as adults, so for a child, it's 100 million times harder.
exactly. Yeah. And so that's again that beauty of motherhood, of parenthood, is really growing that strength, that confidence, our own deep, steady regulation in order to co regulate with our little babies. They're
Hmm. Speaking
Mhm.
of this struggle, what tools and strategies do you recommend for disciplining children?
Well, the first thing I like to say is that when you use it in that verb way, disciplining,
Oh,
actually, discipline comes from the Latin root disciplinare, which means to teach. So already when you say, what are your methods for disciplining? What you're really saying is, how do you teach?
okay.
And so I always begin with whether I'm coaching one-on-one or I have my group with what are the challenges? We all say, oh, all these things, right? We are all in agreement. I have those too. What? Sleep issues, big crying tantrums, power struggles, um, wanting to make the new baby sibling go away, uh, potty training, all these challenges, whining, throwing things, throwing food, not eating, picky eating, all those things, the challenges. And then I say, okay, now imagine your little child is 25 years old now. And everyone kind of, wow, that's a trip, imagining them at 25 and they're awesome, right? They turn out great. They're so cool. And so, because every little baby has that essence, that spirit, that unique sense of self that everyone has, we all have that special soul. What are those life skills, those gifts, those qualities that you want them to have when they're 25 so that their true special essence and soul can be realized, their best self can be blossomed? And the same things come on those life skills list in parents. They say, I want them to have confidence and independence and have a strong community and healthy coping skills and have resilience and a strong sense of self and communication skills and problem solving skills and growth mindset and be creative and be happy and have a sense of humor and all these things, right? And so that is, so when we go back to how do you want to discipline, I say, what do you want to teach? Determine
Mm-hmm.
that list first, right?
Mm-hmm.
This becomes your compass. This is what positive discipline as a framework, as a philosophy, and it's our books, our curriculum, the work that I do is with this framework. It's deeply rooted in Adlerian psychology, and it's saying, you know, when we are connected, deeply connected with another human, when they feel that sense of significance, I matter, I can contribute, I belong, they are encouraged. They can blossom. They can learn these life skills through the challenges. And
Mm-hmm.
then how do kids learn, right? Which again, to your point, how do we discipline, which actually I'm doing air quotes, how do we
Mm-hmm.
teach kids learn when they feel safe, when they feel connected, when their brain is receptive. And so when they feel encouraged, not when they're being yelled at, not when they feel unsafe, not when they're being shamed, not when they're being rewarded. We even know this as a brain that that is not how our brains actually learn best. So, right, we learn best through intrinsic motivation, through feeling encouraged, through being intrinsically motivated, by
Mm-hmm.
feeling capable, by having steps literally be broken down. So, I say to parents, how do you learn? How did you learn algebra best? Who was your favorite teacher growing up? What were the ways that you learned? And they all say
Mm-hmm.
the same thing. They were like, they were inspiring, they were warm, they cared about us, they broke the steps down. Bottom line, we have tons of practice and we're explicitly taught.
Mm-hmm.
So when parents are like, well, how am I supposed to teach, problem solving skills or relationship skills or communication skills or good manners or patience? It's like we've got to give lots of practice, time for training, high reps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make room for mistakes, being opportunities to learn. So this is a lot of what I do through my coaching is really helping parents with that teaching. And, really, honestly, Medea, it's like kids learn through play, they learn through role play, through practice, through, again, breaking down the steps, understanding why, feeling connected, visuals, lots of visual routines, consistency, all of those pieces. So,
Yeah, it's important to create a safe space for them to want to learn and become a better person and to
and
listen to you.
Yeah, and to be able to explore and to be curious and to feel that connection, and we call it serve and return. The At Harvard, that a lot of their research that comes out talks about this concept of serve and return, where we are having these um, little communication, dialogue, moments of connection back and forth, even with baby at very early ages, that we are, using our communication, using the way that we speak to them, even with this growth mindset language from a very early age, saying, I see you, you can do this, you're working so hard. I know you're feeling so uncomfortable right now. We're working to that attunement that we have with babies. The reading, the singing, the playfulness, the time, right? The presence. That is how they learn. Yeah.
Hmm. Acknowledging them, empathizing with them, showing them that they're seen
Mhm.
is
Having
very
those safe,
important.
consistent routines that are
Hmm.
stable.
What
Yeah.
is your take on gentle parenting?
I love that you asked this because I have a big soapbox that I climb up onto with gentle parenting. I think
Okay.
that gentle parenting as a concept is lovely, right? I mean, I think it comes from a place where we want to do no harm to kids.
Hmm.
And that is super fair, And I think that is the pendulum has swung from controlling, punitive, the timeouts, the spanking, the shaming, the yelling, just show them who's boss kind of parenting, which we know in the research is not effective. Some practitioners with gentle parenting, I think it can get confusing for a parent who's like, well, what's the difference between attachment parenting and gentle parenting and positive discipline? And so I always go back to the research, which is that when we talk about what is most effective, it is the connection and firmness at the same time. So when it is just permissive, which can be construed as gentle parenting, where it is just a completely hands off, just no making sure they're never in distress, never have disappointment, um, really following their lead, like in a pure way. What can happen is without having healthy limits, without having those safety, without having the firmness, which is not meanness,
Hmm.
without having consistent routines, helping them follow through. A lot of kids are not going to want to go to bed. A lot of kids are not going to want to quit playing and brush their teeth and put their pajamas on and have a healthy, night's sleep. A lot of kids are not going to want to leave the park. And so without having that kind of those kinds of guardrails, those kinds of healthy limits, that consistency, that leadership, there can be over time, we talked about those long-term life skills. We've missed a lot of opportunities to teach those life skills. And so I would say with gentle parenting, the parts that I am totally on board with are the parts that not wanting to do damage, harm, any kind of punitive methods that are going to be hurtful to brain development, social emotional development, that are going to affect attached relationships, secure attachment, anything like that. But I think when it is missing healthy limits and safety and follow through and routines, and especially some of those healthy pieces around their development. And so having some of those healthy limits, that's when it can be tricky for kids in terms of the long term life skills being developed.
Yeah, it's important to have a balance. If you go so far on one side, your child is not going to listen to you ever.
Well, I think there is and it's not even just listen, because I think when we say listen, what we really mean is obedience. I think that we actually are missing an opportunity for them to be able to be comfortable with hard feelings, to be comfortable with uncomfort, to be comfortable with disappointment, to be able to grow some of the seeds for perspective taking, for other people's perspectives, for grit. A lot of parents want their child to have grit. And so
Hmm.
there are these little places where we get to stretch, we get to lean into their growth edge in these early years so that they can have some of this strength, confidence, independence, grit. Mhm.
Yes, I'm taking all of this in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like so much to learn. But
I'm
that's
here
actually
for you. It's okay.
yeah. I'm like,
Come
I'm
to
gonna come to
Sproutable.
you. That's actually all we have for today. So thank you so much, Julietta, for coming on. This has been amazing. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
You've been listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby. If you're in the market for a new crib, glider, dresser, or more, we'd love for you to check out our line of furniture. Head over to oxfordbabyandkids.com or sohobaby.com. All links are within the show notes. For more information as a listener, enter the code PODCAST10 for 10% off your total purchase, plus free shipping on all orders over $799. Thanks for listening and tune into our next episode. Bye for now, and remember, every step is a step towards progress. We hope today's story gives you the confidence and the assurance that every journey is different, but we do it together.